Joining us now, though, always puts me in a good mood, Congressman Walter Jones, Republican 3rd District, North Carolina, Elizabeth City, Outer Banks, all the way up and down there on the Eastern Shore. Congressman Jones, good to have you with us.
John, thank you, and you're exactly right in your assessment. I don't know why in the world people can't understand that this is a train wreck, and that you mentioned several senators. You could have added Mike Lee came out against this bill, Rand Paul's against the Senate bill, and also Jerry Moran. So you can add to the ladies you named probably 3 or 4 other votes as well. The American people see this charade, and that's what it is, a charade. You're exactly right about who controls the policy, the people with the money that buy the members of Congress. And I have fundraisers too, so I'm not being hypocritical. I'm saying that the system up here is wrong when it comes to the good of the people and trying to get the right policy. And both parties are guilty of that, so I'm not blaming one or the other. But your assessment is exactly right. I don't know. I wish there was an independent party out, to be honest with you. And probably in time that would be corrupted too, but at least in the early days of a third party, it would be corrupted. So anyway, I don't know.
This is a very frustrating week, Congressman Walter Jones, because for 8 years, Republicans have, elected Republicans in Congress, both the House and the Senate, have railed against Obamacare. They railed about how bad it was. Those in middle America, not the ones below the poverty level or those with, big jobs where they get, care from their companies or work in the federal, state, or local government. Average people, they saw their premiums go up, their deductibles go up, their level of care go way down. They were faced with penalties. It was a disaster for average people. Republicans railed against it forever. Trump ran on repealing it. And now we have majorities in the House, majorities in the Senate, a Republican president, and they can't get the bill passed in the U.S. Senate. I mean, it is unbelievable. And you can say that this repeal, this replace, or that replace, at least if it got the reconciliation, you could have done something. But the fact of the matter is, when McConnell says, okay, here's what we'll do, we'll just vote for repeal, we'll have a 2-year sunset, everybody can get to the table, figure it out over a 2-year period, we'll get Democrats involved, which of course means higher subsidies, Obamacare and steroids, but at least vote to repeal the pieces of it that are horrible. They can't even do that.
Well, John, that is why months ago on your show that I explained that if anybody had any policy sense and political sense, this bill would not have been brought up till September. The first 6 to 7 months of a new administration should be when you work the bill. You hold public hearings, you hold committee hearings, you let everybody come and vent for Obamacare or opposed to Obamacare, what the problems are. But no, what we tried to do was jam this thing through in the first 5 weeks of the Trump administration to make a point to the Democrats and to Obama, we're going to stick it on you. And that, to me, is what's got us into this situation we're in now, and I don't know how we're going to get out of it. I would hope that at some point in time that a level heads can prevail, but right now it's just a chaotic situation, and that's not good for the American people. It's not good for the problems within the health care, because you said it many times, I have too. It's a very complicated issue. Mm-hmm. And I'm just saying that if you had started off in February and announced we're going to hold hearings around the country, we're going to hold hearings in Washington, we're going to let the stakeholders, and that means the consumer, be at the table. Mm-hmm. And yes, we're not going to rush through this thing. It's too complicated to rush through it. We're going to take 7 months of a new administration and try to work towards the best health care we can get as possible. Mm-hmm. I don't know. To me, this started off on the wrong foot to begin with.
And you're right, but they could do that now.
Absolutely.
If you vote for repeal with a 2-year sunset, then you've got, or even 18 months, whatever the time frame is that you think is reasonable. Then you could do, Congressman Jones, exactly what you're advocating, and you're spot on. Hold the hearings, discuss it, get everybody involved, and then come up with something that works get consumers involved, get it done the right way. But you've got Republican senators who voted for repeal who are now saying, well, I can't vote for repeal without a replacement, so I'd rather just keep Obamacare as it is, which is counter to what they got elected on. I mean, it is really very frustrating. And then, look, I'm a supporter of the president. I was his Virginia chairman, and so that I was the first guy for him where I stand on it. But, he comes out yesterday and he blames Democrats. I mean, Mr. President, you got to be kidding me, okay? At least the Democrats stand for something, right? They stand for keeping Obamacare as it is. I mean, you don't blame them. You got to blame your own party who couldn't get it done.
Well, I think that's a weakness that the president has, is blaming other people and not the right people. I'm with you on that. I mean, to me, this is one of those things we ought to stop playing the blame game and say, by God, we're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to spend months trying to fix this problem, because it's not going to get fixed unless they do something like that. And, of course, I'm not on the committees of jurisdiction. It's easy for me to make statements because I'm not there. But I do know it's a complex issue, and I know that it's going to take time to fix some of the problems. You probably won't fix all the problems, but at least you can try. So I don't know. It's very frustrating to the many members in Congress, but also I know it's frustrating to the American people.
It is really very frustrating. Okay, let's get to authorization for military force, another area. We talk about this ad nauseum every week, but now we're getting close.
Yep.
But Congress cannot simply punt away its duty in these wars. Lee got her bill to have reauthorization debate for the authorization of military force through the Appropriations Subcommittee. Where is it now, and why is it in rules? Help us understand this.
Well, I tell you why it's in rules. That's so they can slow walk it, just like the bill that John Garamendi and I put in 1666, asking for a debate. It's just like Barbara Lee in a way. And it was sent to rules, and I was told by the parliamentarian that it goes to two committees, Rules and Foreign Relations. Her amendment was on an appropriations bill. It passed, as you just stated, the subcommittee, and then as the bill would head to the full committee for a debate and a vote with other amendments, not just one, the leadership started saying, well, it doesn't belong on the appropriations bills. Well, if you're wasting billions of dollars overseas buying goats in Afghanistan, well, then what bill does it fit into? This is just another example of why I've been very critical of Paul Ryan. He hardly likes to look at me, and I understand that. I'm an older man, obviously. But I would tell you that this whole system, I talked to it. I don't know if you're going to get that young captain in that I mentioned a couple weeks ago, Michael Smith.
Working on it.
Okay. I actually spoke to his attorney yesterday, Bruce Ackerman, up at Yale University. We had a great 15-minute conversation, and he's asked me to look in a couple of areas, so I'm getting my staff person, Josh Boland, chief of staff, to talk to him today to get more details of what he asked of me. But the point I go back to, there is not going to be a debate. I don't know, and I wrote, you'll get a press release today. I had a letter delivered to the White House. I addressed it to the President of the United States yesterday, and we got a press release out today. Want to be fair and say, well, at least it's at the White House. I'm sure he's not going to see it. Asking him to not send 4,000 troops to Afghanistan unless he asks Congress to debate it. Well, that's probably the end of it, but that's the frustration that you just mentioned. You have that frustration. Many of your listeners have that frustration. Many in the military have frustration as well. They're the most important ones. And those of us in Congress that cannot meet our constitutional responsibility are mad as hell.
So who actually is responsible for deep sixing this? I mean, let's trace it back. It got through. The Speaker
of the House, John.
Huh?
The Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. He could today tell the committee chairman, I want that amendment by Barbara Lee to move. He ain't going to do it. I want that bill by John Garamendi and Walter Jones to move. He is not going to do it. That's who it is. If I could if I had the money to file a lawsuit, it'd get against the Speaker of the House, not even the President, but the Speaker of the House, because he's the one that can direct the House. Any floor action in the House comes out of the Speaker's office.
So basically, he instructs his committee chairman as this moves through various committees to just table it, squash it.
Well,
right?
to slow walk it. Same thing you're saying. Just
slow walk it, bottleneck it, throw it in the drawer. I just had Tom Garrett on, Virginia Republican, 5th District. Yep. He's upset over the Obamacare repeal vote that's failing in the Senate and wants a vote in the House. And they're having a press conference today, the Freedom Caucus at 2:00. And he said something about he's going to issue a discharge petition.
Yeah.
Can't you do that?
Yeah, both parties can do that. You have to get, I don't know the number, somewhere around 200, and the majority of the House has to sign the discharge petition. That is also both parties. If I want to go sign a Democrat discharge petition, I could do it, and vice versa. But in all, it's a process that a member can offer, but he won't get the number of signatories to do anything.
So they can,
I hate to tell him. I like Tom. He's a good man, a smart man, but it's just. But he's trying. Let's give him credit.
All right. So in order to get the discharge petition, just so we understand how this works, and in order to get debate on the floor of the House in the well, you have to get 50% plus one, not of the caucus, but of entire membership. I
think. Yeah, I know it's an entire membership. No, yeah, it is. But I know that. The numbers are somewhere what you described, 50 plus one, but it is an opportunity that members of Congress can try.
He's not going to get that because on the repeal bill, he'll get 0 Dems, and then Republicans aren't going to want to go on the record, so they'll just not sign it. Then he says if they don't sign it, they'll put pressure on them. But with AUMF, you'll never get 50% plus one to debate this because nobody wants to debate it nor go on the record to debate it. So you'll never get there. So it'll just stay as it is. I mean, this is unbelievable. So, I mean, it's not even constitutional.
You're right. It's not constitutional. That was a dramatic statement that you made that I think you're 100% correct to make it.
And so we just continue to send these troops into battle based on an authorization of military force by Congress that was employed in 2001, 16 years ago, 3 presidents ago, and in a war that we're still in, that there is no benefit of whatsoever except for the people making money off funding the effort.
Well, that is exactly right. And as you know, I read a part of the Commandant Chuck Kulak's letter to me about a week ago when he said, this is unwinnable. We're not going to win it. We're not going to do anything but waste billions of dollars and have a few Americans lose their life or their limbs. And we in Congress are in a coma when it comes to war debate.
I tell you what, it's so frustrating that you just can't get anything done. And
well, I give Barbara Lee, and she's going to be on your show in about 10 minutes, but she's been trying, and we've been with her trying. And
she's been trying for years. And, you know, we thought we had momentum when it got out of the subcommittee, and we said, okay, well, now it's going to get to a vote in appropriations, and we need 26, and that never happened. And then they shifted over to rules. You know, rules is like dead man walking. I mean, everything they want squashed, they send the rules. They do the same thing in the North Carolina General Assembly, the Virginia. I mean, if you want something to die a slow, silent death, you dump it in rules. It'll never see the light of day.
And, John, your listeners probably know this, but the rules chairman is there to represent the interests of the Speaker of the House.
Right. I mean, that's what the rules chairman does, right? That's where they have rules.
Absolutely.
To simply be the hammer for the speaker's agenda. If one of the other committee chairmen go awry, you know, they dump it in rules, and then it's like whack-a-mole.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's exactly what they've done with Barbara's amendment. I don't know if she can. You can certainly ask her, and I'm sure you will, if she's got any idea. in the full committee if there's any way to get a debate, even if she can't get a vote. And she's a strong woman. I have a lot of respect for her, and she'll try, I'm sure of that.
All right. Unbelievable. The moneyed interest here are just,
absolutely.
You can't stop it. And, I gave this example earlier, and I think I gave it to you 2 weeks ago, but I'm going to keep mentioning it. We had a caller today that brought it up. In 1986, this was a study done. There was $60 million was spent on lobbying the Congress, House and Senate, or $113,000 per member. That was in 86. In 2016, 96, it was 30 years later, that figure, Congressman Walter Jones, jumped to $3.1 billion and $5.8 million spent on lobbying per member in Congress. $5.8 million per member. It's a staggering figure of money that is spent on influence peddling, and because it all has to do with who's getting what money when. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The money that is spent up there, it's obscene.
But John, that's why I know you don't agree with me, but I think there needs to be an alternative to how we raise money in campaigns, because I'm going to tell you, if you don't have an alternative, one day when I'm dead and gone, all you're going to have up here is multimillionaires. It's getting pretty much that way in the Senate right now.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the other thing, and I've only got a minute here, but
sure.
You look at the number of people that go in to Congress of, average means or meager means, and they come out multimillionaires. How does that work on a $175,000 salary in Washington? How do you do that?
Well, I haven't been able to do that, nor would I, and I can honestly tell you that most members that I know in the House are kind of like I am. They're average income type people who've been blessed with an opportunity to serve the people. But there are a lot of games that are played in Washington where some members just don't see the importance of ethics, and they play a game. I can't point anybody out, but we know it happens because of what you just said.
All right, I got to roll. Congressman Walter Jones, North Carolina 3rd District, thanks for keeping the good fight. Third party, I don't know, maybe we got to do something, but thanks for being with us.